Do you want to speak a little bit about your, I guess, your political awakening? You mentioned a little bit of it, of, the things that you read and the things that you learned that kind of got you to your politics today. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in Brooklyn.
Which part?
I grew up in Mill Basin. I moved there when it was basically an Italian neighborhood. There were like two black families on my street.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was like a homemade candy shop. There was a bakery every other block. There was dollar pizza.
Yeah.
And it was like that was like the cost of pizza everywhere. It was like $1.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, my mom sat through a bunch of racist ass PTA meetings. I had teachers, I
What's
would
public
write,
school?
huh?
Public school?
Yeah. I would have, I would use the word like, I remember once I used the word vibrant in one of my like writing samples in junior high, and the teacher docked points because I didn't use it in my own words.
Oh,
Shit
wow.
like that happened to me all the fucking time, and I didn't believe that racism existed. And this is what it dawns on me that people don't understand. Just like if no one explained to you what the color blue was, you wouldn't really know what it was. You'd be like, that color is around, but I don't really have a language for it. It's the exact same thing when you experience so much when you're experiencing racism, because it's such a part of our world and it's so normal that like you can be you could be like eyeball deep in racism and not really understand that that's what you're experiencing. And this is why this time is especially difficult for a lot of people, a lot of artists. It's like, particularly for me, I mean, I was always pushed into spaces, even though the school would look diverse, I was always pushed into spaces where it wasn't diverse. So in junior high, for instance, I was in the honors program. So my junior high was very diverse, but I was in a white enclave within my junior high school program. Same thing in high school. My high school was very diverse, but I was pushed into the program you had to audition for. So there weren't that many black people in the program actually. And then I mean, my college wasn't diverse at all. I was just one of the only black people there. So the more specialized you are, the more special, but I wouldn't say special. I'd say the more adaptable you are to white people, the more you're pushed into white spaces. And so the more isolated you are. So it's really hard to understand that racism is happening to you until you have an experience where someone points out to you, oh, by the way, here are some statistics. This is why no one who looks like you is in this class. And that's what happened to me. I went to college. I was forced to take people power in politics. And the teacher she just presented us with a bunch of data. And we were like, fuck, racism is real and it's so much worse than I thought. Because I could actually deal with, like, I once had an incident where the neighbor across the street from us growing up, um, my brother and his friends, they were throwing rocks into the garden across the street from my house that was owned by the public school down the block. Um, and the neighbor that was like right next to the garden came to my house with a hammer and knocked on the door with the hammer, yelling and screaming like expletives at my brother. And he was like a grown, scary, like big white man. And we didn't grow up with a dad. So, and my mom was always working. So it was like me and my sister, who was like a few years older than me, she's 5 years older than me. I must have been like, I must have been like 12 or 13. So my sister was probably in her last 2 years of high school, and my brother's younger than me. So he came to our house to like knock on the door with the hammer, and he was pissed and he was yelling at us because my brother was throwing rocks in an empty garden across the street that nobody owned but the elementary school. So shit like that would happen. He was using like racial slurs. Shit like that would happen, but we're like, racism doesn't really exist. We didn't know that racism was so much worse than that. It's like, oh, we won't get jobs. I won't get a job because of my name. My talents will always be overlooked. I'll always be the default worst person in the room. People will always feel more comfortable disrespecting me, not believing what I say. I've never dated a white person that didn't ask me not to totally overlook my experience as a black person in order to keep dating them. I mean, like, this is my life. It is mired in people not seeing me.
Friends, thanks for tuning in to another clip of Johnny's Jabs. If you liked what you just saw, please be sure to share this with your family and friends and comment below. And if you want to get more content like this, it's easy. Just click the bell below to subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Johnny Jabor, and I'll catch you guys next time.